Hey, hey, hello, hello. Can everybody hear me? Somebody put a one in the chat, just so I know. How's the sound? Good afternoon, good evening, early evening, I should say. And welcome to the Black Man Unfiltered Network. And I'm back at you with my 37-year-old thing on for marriage, me and the wife. Anyway, welcome to the show. Welcome to the chat. Hello with Milani, Catelia. Somebody else was in here. Andre. Oh, that's good. Edward, how you guys doing? Thanks for coming early. We should have an interesting topic today. Make sure you hit the like button. Send a you know I guess a cash app to the network to help fund this thing. That would be cool. Send it to Black Man Unfiltered. Because it does take some work to keep this going. And so we should have an interesting conversation. I'm gonna drop the link for anybody who wants to come up and talk about it. It's not really an opposition thing. These are just my observations of what's going on today. And so I have some difference of opinion, but I keep coming back to the title of, why successful men are really, really reticent to get married these days. And there's some good reasons for that, some articles. So I have, of course, I'm going to have videos and different discussions on that particular matter. Hey, Braxton, what's going on? So excuse me for a second, everybody. Let me hold on for a second. Yeah, all right. Runny nose and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so let's just get started while everybody's coming in. I was going to share with you a couple of things. As some of you might know, I'm going to share this with you so we could talk from it. Some of you might know because I've talked about this before, just while people are coming in before we get started. Let me switch the orientation. Listen, I'm a big advocate for marriage. So anything I say today, it's not because I'm an advocate or advocate that people don't get married. I really think that it's a timeless tradition, and I think people should find somebody to cleave to and spend their life with and build and things of that nature that help society out. But the things that are different is the times that we're living in. So every Sunday, not every Sunday, but there's like maybe 2 or 3 times, maybe twice a month, maybe sometimes once a month, depending on what it is, I cook dinner for the family. And what's really important about that is I get my daughters to, my one daughter lives with me. She's 25. The other one's a little older. And she comes visit. She has her own place. So it's me and my favorite ladies. We sitting around the table. And guess what happens? You start talking about things. And we were talking about, provision, because they bring this stuff up to me about what does a man provide besides just money. Hey, Hunter Wisdom, good to see you here. Edward. So listen, so we get that conversation. I said, well, men provide more than money, especially today, since women make money. My daughters certainly make money. I said, it's not just the money. It's the shoulder to lean on, to cry on. It's the person who gives you order to your chaos. And then we had a discussion about chaos. I said, yeah, every so often you need a guy to put things straight for you, to help you look at a different perspective. Then we started talking about protection. And, before I could say anything, my wife was doing something in the kitchen, and she came in and she chimed in to talk to our daughters. And she said, let me tell you about a man's protection. And she began to tell them a story about how I asked for her hand in marriage when I talked to her father. So she's telling our daughters the story. And he said the only thing that my father was concerned about was would I be safe with you as my husband? And because her father did ask me, he said, listen, if things go wrong, just bring her back in one piece. And that's when I told him that she's not coming back. And then she told a story about a guy in our church, a gentleman in our church, a deacon who recently passed away. God bless him. He was in his 90s, but he had a daughter who was 80 years old. He had a daughter. He was 80 years old, but she had gotten onset Alzheimer's, but she never married. He was doing everything for her, just like if she was a little girl in the house. And the point she made to my daughters is that your father is never going to stop covering you, unless you guys were married. He's still going to do it. But if there's not a man covering you, then it's still his job, no matter how old you are. And I'm over here swooning, listening to these words come out of my wife's mouth. I said, there you go. And because that wasn't rehearsed. Hey, take heed, how you doing? So the point really is that, you know, women need to have the guys in their lives. So I just want to put all this up in this dinner. Forget my plating skills. This thing was delicious, okay? But I just wanted my girls to know, and I always do, and I want you guys to know that I'm an advocate for marriage. So nothing I say today is saying I don't think men should be married, but I know why they don't get married. So just because I think the way things should be, doesn't mean that I have to deny what they really are, especially today. So anyway, just getting back to the food, the photograph, forget about the plating. My plating skills suck, but that salad was great. And that eggplant parmesan with the white sauce, Alfredo sauce with strips of prosciutto layered with real fresh mozzarella. And the way I doctored up the Alfredo sauce, oh man, oh. Then of course the ciabatta bread has, butter and olive oil on it with some Parmesan cheese and a little bit of mozzarella, baked to perfection. It was delicious. So I always woo my girls with my cooking skills, and it's something I learned when I was in college. Anyway, so getting back to the point that we're here. Let me take this down. We're here to talk about what the title says, right? Successful Black men don't marry. Their legacy is a la carte, meaning that they want to have kids on kids without buying an entree. So children without buying an entree, and it's going on all the time. So let's talk about it. So not the very first time, but we beat up Nick Cannon, we beat up Cam Newton for being men who are a product of their environment. Right? Because that's a lot of the way men are acting is because women want that, and I'm blaming on women for this particular reason. Men think it's a bad deal to be traditional when women don't want to be traditional anymore, right? So why should I marry you? If you don't want to be a traditional wife, you're looking for a partner. So if you're looking for a partner, why should I marry you when I'm looking for a wife? And it's not just words. Words have meanings. So let's just kind of look at this legacy thing. All right. And here's a real kicker. I think that the divide in our community, of course, is a class issue. I think the legacy and a la carte children, as a rich man and a person in the upper class, is different than the person in the hood who can't afford even one kid, much less many. Right? Or one man who has 10 children and can't afford even one of them, he's a bane on society, right? He's a bane. He's a drain on society, right? He impacts 10 families, right? Because the woman who gets pregnant has to lean on her mother or her grandmother, and she has to lean on the state because he ain't providing any money. Whereas the millionaire man who has 10 kids and could afford them, nobody's paying for those kids but him. There's a difference there, right? And whether people want to agree with that or not, there's a class difference between what people in the upper class eat, where they sleep, where they live, what they drive, who they associate with, how they behave and what they believe. So how can having children as a legacy be any different? They don't look at the world the same as somebody who can't rub two nickels together, right? So we are seeing the manifestation of a terrible marriage system, and men being who they are need to solve the problem. I want children, but I don't want to buy an entree that has for lack of a better metaphor, I don't want to buy potato salad with raisins in it. I could just have the kids. I'll just pay the chick, take care of the babe, to take care of the babes, and make a deal with the woman and just have at it. We'll co-parent, and we see how the kids come out. I think that's what's going on now. Now, let me tell you, the children of the millionaires in this uh, who are in this a la carte kind of situation, but their kids are not the ones going and shooting up stores and stuff like that. Not for the most part. So listen, let's say it's just a bad deal in this current environment for a man of means to get married. If he did it by himself and all the women who are waiting for him at the finish line. Now, it's completely different, I believe, if you get together with somebody and the man doesn't have two nickels to rub together like me. I didn't have two nickels to rub together. My wife married me because she actually liked me, right? And loved me. And because it certainly wasn't for the money. So I had a little bit more assurance why she was with me, right? Uh, and I think most men, it's easier to ascertain whether the woman's with you for you when you don't have anything. But if you're rich and she's waiting at the finish line, I don't care what nobody says. It's harder to read. It's harder to read that situation, no matter how well you vet her. And there's some reasons for that, right? Because no matter what you do, once you marry her, because of no fault divorce, she can, once she's fully vested, and and women can pay the shell the long game, even if it's 3, 4, 5, 6 years, 10 years. Then she could decide, hey, you know what? I don't like this anymore. And then she could leave with all your assets. Well, not all of them, but enough to make it hurt. Right. So that happens. What's going on, A-Team? I see Harmonize is in the house. I thought I saw Harmonize. Time. Hello, I don't remember your name, but that's cool. Del Monte Green Beans. Oh, wow. There's a few folks in there. Yeah, thanks for coming in. Well, anyway, so what I'm getting at is there's 9 states in the union that are 50-50 states. Now, when you look up, is there like a vested period? They never really say how many years. But if a woman's married to you, and I'm talking from a man's perspective, for 9 years, for 10 years, they're kind of fully vested. It's 50-50. So 9 states, and those states are Arizona, California, Idaho, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas. I'm surprised about Texas, Washington, and Wisconsin. You ain't getting out of that marriage without giving up half your assets. Now, if you got married and both of y'all had nothing, then half your assets is fair, right? You built it together. She should have something. But if she's waiting at the finish line, she didn't shot one basketball, she didn't take one acting lesson, she didn't do anything. But then now she's walking away. Men are starting to do a calculation. Is it worth it? So getting back to the guys we're talking about, I'm gonna show this chart here. I'm gonna show a chart that I think we all familiar with. Let me go ahead and share it. All right. Hey, let me make it bigger. All right, so this is a chart from blackdemographic.com about if we're talking about Black people, but this impacts everybody, right? This is about married Black people, right? If you look at Black men, 33% of Black men are married. They did this survey or this analysis over a 5-year period, and they put this out in 2020. So I don't know how much different it is now. So let's just kind of extrapolate. Let's just say the numbers are similar. 33% of Black men are married. 52% of them aren't. What this chart doesn't tell you is the class of the people, of the men who are married, or did they get married when they were already rich, or did they get married before they got rich, right? And then the 52% doesn't tell you how many men aren't married because they have money to lose, right? I think that might be the biggest number. How many men, think they're going to lose money by getting married, as opposed to just, having a couple of babies and making a deal with a woman about how to raise them and how much money to pay for them. Now, anybody have anything to say about that? Just let me know. I mean, I could drop the link. You come up and discuss. Anybody wants to come, I'm gonna drop the link early, just in case anybody wants to come up and have any opinion. So I know this, and I'm gonna get into the Cam Newton situation a little bit, and Nick Cannon, not all the way in depth, but I think those gentlemen were treated unfairly. I think that, and this is when the hyenas and the lionesses both uh, ganged up on those two gentlemen. I thought that was patently unfair. I think they were only playing the hand that they're dealt because of their wealth. They're in the danger zone, right? And there's a lot of men who don't want to put the shit that they work for at risk. It's like a football player like Cam Newton. His contract, whether he's finished getting all the money out of his contract, which is probably soon, he ain't gonna have money like that for somebody to be able to just take half in the marriage, because he's never going to be able to make the kind of money he made while he was playing football. Nick Cannon, on the other hand, I think he's a money machine, right? His money is long money, long-term money, and he's been making it for a long time. So his longevity is a completely different. So these are two different men, but they both have money. One's money is diminishing over time, and the other guy, who knows how much money he's really making. But they're both made the same deal with the women in their lives, right? I think some people try to say Cam tricked his first baby mama into having those babies. He did not. I don't believe that. She thought she can get him to marry her by having kids. And nobody gives him credit for the fact that he took her in when she already had a kid. He raised that kid and is raising that kid as his own, even though they're not together anymore. So people miss that fact. Okay. And then I think he also, one of his other baby mamas has a kid outside too. And he's taking care of that one as well. So I got a list of guys that are doing this thing. So in this chart, the only thing I wanted to say, it doesn't show you that there's a class divide here. Right? It doesn't tell you, again, how many men got married when they were already rich in that 33%, or how many men are not getting married in that 52% because they are rich and they're worried about protecting their financial wealth, from the vampire, So anyway, so that's just the way that works. And I don't blame men for not getting married, especially the way the laws are written today and how unfair they are to men. So I mean, we could debate that if anybody wants to come up and do that. So let me just stop sharing this. And that's the way the thing goes, right? So there's more. So I have an article about this situation. And I guess the article is kind of like advertisement, I think, but it's really an article about why Black men don't get married. I kind of went over it, but I think it's good enough that we should share it so you can read it on your own. And it's just not me making this up. Some people are actually made a business of this stuff, right? So I think you can see this. Yeah, okay, you can see it. Right. So here's an article. Successful Black men don't marry. Well, we do know that some do, and they write like a Tyrese Gibson, right? He got married and he thought he was protected by his prenup, right? He thought he was protected, but we're finding out what some judges are doing, right? Since the prenup does not cover child support or things that nature, that's a different court or a different avenue. Judges have a discretion to make child support payments into de facto alimony payments as well. So you'll have a 2-year-old kid and the judge, ordered him to pay $20,000 a month for a 2-year-old. It's absolutely absurd because his prenup protected him, but it wasn't written without a loophole in it. So that's where his lawyer made a mistake. Kevin Costner had 3 kids with a younger woman he married because he's an idiot. And the judge wanted him to pay $200,000 a month for child support. Okay. So that judge should be disbarred, right? Because there's no way that it should cost $200,000 a month to raise 3 children. right? So I think he had a prenup as well. So that's why I think they're still arguing certain things. But the discretion of the judges is draconian. So as long as those things are not fixed, I don't see why a man of means will ever get married in the United States. I really don't. But they will, but I don't see why. Well, anyway, this one says today's many successful African American men refuse to get married. The general reason they refuse to get married is the fear of divorce. Now, we've heard that before, right? And the huge financial negative implications of getting divorced. So you know where this article is going. We're not just talking about the athletes and the actors and but successful businessmen. They're avoiding marriage. Jamie Foxx, to name a few. So there's a lot of people starting to talk about this more and more and more, right? And rightfully so. Rightfully so. So what is a man to do in a situation? And we're not going to stop loving women. I don't need to read any more of that article. We're not going to stop loving women. That's not going to happen. Okay. We're not gonna stop wanting to have a legacy. That's not going to happen. Okay. So what is a man to do? Right. So that's what I kind of call a la carte legacy, right? A surrogacy legacy. Making a deal with a woman to have the kids. And we'll get to that. But I want to play one more video for you about a man from a divorce attorney. And I think you guys seen this guy before, but I'm going to just play it for you just for the hell of it, shits and giggles. And he kind of puts his little spin with a lot of energy on why a man shouldn't get married.
Key problem I have with marriage as it is done currently here in the West and in other places, but certainly the clay in which I work, is that there are certain promises the law can enforce, and there are certain promises it can't. So if we acknowledge, if we say the quiet part out loud, that in the majority of heterosexual marriages, the man brings protection and providing, and the woman brings kindness, warmth, and care, right? And sex. That's the economy. That's the economy. I didn't make that up. Don't get fucking mad at me in the comments. I didn't make it up. It was here before me. It's going to be here after me. I promise, right? So that's the game. That's the economy. His roles, his obligations are enforceable by law. So state power can be used to enforce his obligations, not hers. The court cannot order her to be nice to him or to fuck him or to stay pretty or to stay sweet and friendly to him and kind to him or speak nicely of him or raise the children in a meaningful way that, creates value to him instead of teaching them to disrespect him, right? But his promises in that, shelter, food, financial obligations, court can force you to do that. And if you don't do it, they can put you in jail or they can take away your driver's license, your professional licenses. So what is that? When you have a contract where only one side is enforceable by law under penalty of law, like that is a dangerous game to play if you're a man, period.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, did he say anything wrong? He was absolutely right. So is it a scare tactic? Is there some fear? Of course there's fear. Of course, some men are afraid, but it's not, and listen, our marriage rates are low anyway. And so this is another barrier in the upper echelon where, men who would otherwise be great fathers in a marriage to help build a community are afraid to do it because of the laws. And the other part, they could never really be sure that the woman is marrying them because they love them and because they want to be with them, other than they love the kind of lifestyle that he would give. And then after a while, the woman finds out that she can have that lifestyle without the man. It's just part of it's a game that needs to change. Now, am I calling for men to boycott marriage? No. But I think that the more and more men who decide that, well, you know what, maybe marriage is not the best thing for me. And, women start to understand that, some of these laws needs to change so a man could have some equal footing. I don't know. So maybe we could blame this all on Michael Jackson. Okay. He bought his children, even though we kind of know that those kids aren't his. He found this woman and he got 3 children. He paid for them, right? I know it's freaky. I don't think he touched a woman myself. I think those kids are not his because he had a phobia about being black. So he wouldn't want to, quote unquote, curse his children with black skin. I believe that was his one big problem, even though everybody loves the guy. I know I love his music, but he bought his children. I mean, a lot of people didn't talk about it much because it was way back when, but he bought his kids a la carte. He didn't want the entree, but he wanted the children. Okay. And he got them. And whether you believe those are his biological kids or not, on record, those are his kids. Elon Musk, this is the only white guy I have on the list. He has 12 children by 3 different women. He he sounds just like a brother, right? It's funny, but he's rich. I can guarantee you every one of those kids will have a better life financially than what 99% of the kids out there. Jamie Foxx has 2 kids, 2 baby mamas. Stephen A. Smith has 2 children, 2 baby mamas, and I have something from him later on. Uh, Anthony Edwards is a basketball player, but I just use him as a metaphor of all athletes. A lot of those young guys, they got babies all over the place. So he has 4 kids and 3 baby mamas. The guy's only like 23 years old, if he's that old, right? And he's gonna, I guess, get ready to sign a $200-something million contract or more. You know, so he could pay to have those kids, as opposed to if he got married, half of that fortune would be at risk, depending on when he gets married. One of those 4 kids is in dispute, right? He's having a paternity test done to make sure it's his because he don't know where that girl's been, right? So that's in the news. And then again, there's Cam Newton, who has 8 kids, but 6 of them are his. 2 of them are baby mamas. From 2 of them are stepkids from 3 different baby mamas, and he's paying for them all, right? He didn't distinguish, like everybody call him a bad dude and all that horse shit, but he didn't. He took those women in and took their kids along with them. So how bad can he be? He didn't have a prerequisite that they had to be pristine and all this other horse shit. He took them in, and the first one, the biggest argument I heard that they had, one with the 5 kids, is because he wanted a car back and she didn't want to give it to him. Not that she was living in squalor, not that she didn't have money, not that the kids needed clothes, none of that shit. They just had a dispute that he wanted a car he had sentimental value with, and she didn't want to give it back to him. Maybe that was her one way of hanging on to him. I don't know if he eventually got it or not, but it sounds silly to me, right? Not for her, but for both of them to argue over a car, right? The family, the kids are with him a lot anyway. And now that he's not playing football, he's got a whole lot more time with the kids. So the rap that he got from that Dr. Bryant was patently unfair. I'll get back to her a little later. And of course, the list goes on, but we got to mention Nick Cannon, right? We got to mention Nick Cannon because he has 12 kids by 6 different women. And he's another one who gets a lot of flack, of course, and maybe some of it is rightfully so, but I kind of understand where he's coming from, right? So there's the Nick Cannon syndrome, right? This is his little hierarchy of honeys, okay? Mariah Carey is in a different position than everybody else because they were married. And so I don't consider her a baby mama at all, right? She's not. She was his wife. And he tried to make a go of it. A thing that he doesn't get credit for, by the way. And that pisses me off. Not pisses me off is too strong. I just think that as an advocate for men, I'm going to start to speak out when I hear injustice about men all the time. I'm tired of men being gaslit for all kinds of shit. Maybe it's the Obama factor coming out and saying that horse shit he did about black men. But anyway, so the 5 ladies on the bottom, you guys all know. Brittany Bell has 3. Abby has 2. Bree Taisi, she has one, of course, you can read. Now, each one of these women that Dr. Bryant called low vibrational, I didn't think that was fair either. I didn't think that was fair. Her calling these ladies low vibrational when she hit the age of 42, and she's talking about finding a man maybe in his 20s to give her babies, right? So whether we like it or not, this the way society is now, with no culture, no religious morals, rampant baby deletions. Women don't want traditional men. No, women don't want to be traditional, but they want traditional men. And I say that in general, but there's a lot of women who think they might want traditional men, want to be traditional in a marriage, but it's not true. It's just not true. So you got to come to grips with that. If you don't want to be traditional, you can't expect to have traditional men. So these ladies down here, they all made a deal. They all made a deal. Nick Cannon spends over $3 million a year taking care of his quote unquote family, right? Whatever you define it as, these women might be individual from each other, but because they have his kids, they made a deal, right? Because you guys want partners, correct? You guys don't want husbands. You want partners. And Nick says, okay, I'll be your partner, but I want a legacy, so I need children. So are you willing to take a few bucks and I'll give you the money, and we raise the kids when I see you, when in my rotation. Now, from what I understand, he does a lot with all his kids, when he can, right? And so I've heard arguments from women that says money ain't everything, but it's kind of funny, when a man has a lot of money and he's using his money as a tool to live the life he wants to live, money ain't everything. But when a guy is broke and dusty, then money is everything, right? So you can't have it both ways. If I'm rich, money is an extension of my ability to get the things I want, right? And if I want a lot of children, but I don't want the entree, and I want a legacy that's going to last me on my death, I can see why he might want to do this, right? And so he's doing it. I don't hear the ladies complaining. I really don't. And I believe his children are going to have better lives than 99% of the children out there. And here's the other kicker. These ladies are going to have babies by somebody. Women are having babies by, vegetable gardens. I mean, guys who can't do shit. Just random assholes. Women are having babies up the gazoo, putting themselves in danger, their lives in danger. So these women made a better deal. They made a better deal. I'm not going to come down on Nick Cannon or Cam Newton or Stephen A. Smith or Elon Musk or any other men who made that deal. It's not like women are, Mr. Let Go calls your children. Women know what they're doing, right? You know what you're doing, because most women now are having babies by the time they're 26 with no marriage. And the guy's a bum, because some of them are not even with the guy before the baby's born. The situation is already broken. So anyway, I just wanted to put this up there, that this bullshit that Dr. Bryant, quote unquote, put on Nick Cannon and Cam Newton went too long unchecked. I don't think that, with all the content creators out there, maybe Angry Man probably said something about it, but she had no right. She has no right to try to govern and control how a man lives his life after he made it. These guys are not criminal. They're not hurting the community. They're not destroying society. It's already destroyed, right? So they're trying to build a legacy in a society that's broken, right? It's broken. And let me tell you, and here's what I'm gonna call you. You got your ladies out there, y'all can blame it. Most of it is your fault, because y'all no longer want to live under the guise of a man's purview, right? You want to break the patriarchy? Congratulations. Congratulations. And the fact that men was too dog shit stupid to see this coming, I guess we get what we deserve. Anyway, so that's that. All right. Again, so what's next? Let me get Nick Cannon down here. I got some more stuff for you. Let me wait for a second. Anyway, so anybody wants to come up and kind of say, hey, listen, maybe you got it all wrong, right? Maybe I have it all wrong. Maybe I'm not seeing all the angles to this thing because I'm trying to see where the damage Nick Cannon or Stephen A. Smith or Elon Musk or Michael Jackson has done to the community because they wanted kids, but they wanted their children, they wanted a legacy, but they didn't want to buy the entree to go along with it. Anyway, so I got another thing, and we got to talk about a little bit about Dr. Bryant. I'm gonna just revisit just a little bit snippet of her deal with Cam Newton when she was with him. Where is that? There it is.
I'm not married. I have beautiful children.
How many?
8. I'm not married. I have beautiful children.
How many?
8.
By how
8.
many women?
3. And this is the kicker. I want more.
By multiple women? What's the intent
I
of
just
this
want
or
God
by
to
your
bring
wife?
him. I just want God to bring him.
Oh, okay.
My desire to get married is lower than my fear of divorce. So, as you had said, Dr. Brian, you said it, I didn't say it. I will agree. I'm just taking my time.
You're not taking your time.
I am, though.
You're being very action-based. You're not taking your time.
I'm taking my time.
You're being very action-based. You have 8 kids with 3 different women.
Yes.
You are creating, procreating, and multiplying. That is.
All right. So I just stopped a little short because we got this, like, what's best for the kids. Now, she said he's being very action-based, right? And it's a real short video, so I could let it play. But yeah, he is. But what's wrong with him being action-based, right? You know, so it's just a couple of things. One, I think she's dressed inappropriately in front of him as well. And that's just a side note. You know, boobs are about to pop out of this thing. So you're in front of a single rich man. You couldn't find a dress that was a little bit more modest than your cleavage and your boobs getting ready to pop out. What do you call those things at the top? Areolas almost showing and all that stuff. Wait a minute. So what's your motive? So I didn't like I know where she was coming from, and I'm not even saying she's wrong, right? Because he is intentional about this, but she's trying to turn that into a negative, and I don't see it as such. I think it's his choice, right? It's a man's choice. Anyway, let me take this down. So anyway, it's a short video. Let's finish it.
Is not taking your time. You're being very selectively active. Okay. So you're creating, in disclaimer, the kids are in.
First of all, none of us create shit. Okay. Men and women, when you get together and y'all have a baby, you don't create a damn thing. It's procreate, right? It is a difference. All right.
Innocent. They are beautiful and amazing. Anything I say has nothing to do with them babies, but you are proactively choosing where you want to be active at and where you want to take your time.
And yes, ma'am. Yeah, of course. I'm being proactive.
Time.
I'm not married. I have beautiful children.
All right, so that's it. So let me just let it play all the way through with me shutting up.
How many?
8.
By how many women?
3. And this is the kicker. I want more.
By multiple women? What's the intent of this or by your wife?
I just want God to bring him.
Oh, okay.
My desire to get married is lower than my fear of divorce. So, as you had said, Dr. Brian, you said it, I didn't say it. I will agree. I'm just taking my time.
You're not taking your time.
I am, though.
You're being very action-based. You're not taking your time.
I'm taking my time.
You're being very action-based. You have 8 kids with 3 different women.
Yes.
You are creating, procreating, and multiplying. That is not taking your time. You're being very selectively active. Okay. So you're creating, in disclaimer, The kids are innocent. They are beautiful and amazing. Anything I say has nothing to do with them babies. But you are proactively choosing where you want to be active at and where you want to take your time.
I'm not married. I have beautiful children.
How many?
8.
By how
8.
many women?
3. And this is the kicker. I want more.
By multiple women? What's the intent?
I
You're
just
saying,
want
or by
God
your
to bring
wife?
them. I just want God to bring them.
Oh, okay.
My desire to get married is lower than my fear of divorce. So, as you had said, Dr. Brown, I will agree. I'm just taking my time.
Yeah, okay.
You're not taking your time.
I am, though.
You're
Hold
being
on.
very
All right, so that's enough of that one. Okay. Anyway, so I just thought that, you know, she said some things that I don't disagree with, but I know her meaning is negative based on what I'm seeing. Yeah, he's action based, he's deliberate, and a man should be deliberate, right? It's his seed, it's his money, it's his choice. And the women are not innocent bystanders in this thing. That's the thing that I don't get, right? Women are very intentional on some of the things that they do. He didn't trick his first lady into having 4 kids for him. He didn't trick her into that. If somebody tells me that he says, "Well, after this one, I'll marry you. After this one, I'll marry you," I'm reasonably sure he didn't lie to her that way. You know, So what's this? Yeah. Females always want. But listen, women like controlling men. We're seeing how. I think a lot of men have been blinded to the fact that Black women absolutely believe they control Black men, and they have for far too long. I just think that this election, I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but we've seen the shock and awe in a lot of women and the sycophantic men realizing that there's a cadre of Black men saying, you know, enough of this bullshit. Right. And the thing that kind of soothes me is I see a whole lot more Black women saying, you know, what are you guys talking about? You know, everybody has autonomy to do and vote the way they want. So this is just another kind of thing. You know, having babies out of wedlock is a bad thing, but it's a bad thing for, especially if you can't afford them, and you're gonna destroy different families because you're unintentional, and you're just leaving a whole bunch of babies in your wake, as opposed to people who can afford them, who are intentionally having kids, even though they don't want to be married. Right? So there's a difference, right? Like I said, there's a difference in the way people behave depending on what class they are. Now, if we want to put a moral compass on it, and which we could, and it'll be fair, but isn't it a little bit too little too late? Right? I mean, we should have put a moral compass on a birth control pill, or should have put a moral compass on and the shame that used to come with having babies out of wedlock. None of all that shit went away. The culture is ratchet, right? Sex sells. Women are having kids out of wedlock. Yeah, men are giving it to you, but it's still your womb. You're going to do the heavy lifting no matter what. However, how much you want to put the accountability on the men. You guys do the heavy lifting. And you could avoid it too if you wanted to. So now some women have made a deal. So what else is next? You know, what else is there? You know, so we see this lady, Bryant, who has so much smoke for Cam Newton and everybody else. So we later on we see her talking on tonight's conversation. And here's where I think, you know, I'm kind of picking on her, but she's not the only one talking this rhetoric. But I'm gonna throw some shit up there that she was talking about, and on tonight's conversation, and I thought that it was pretty bad. Bad advice, that is.
is age appropriate. When you are in your 20s, it's okay to play around, play the field, and play the game. But when you hit them 30s and up, it's time for you to be transparent about.
Okay. All right. Listen. I want to say this shit again.
Dating is age appropriate. When you are in your 20s, it's okay to play around, play the field, and play the game. But when
Ladies and gentlemen, that's a lie. It's a lie. It is not okay. It's not okay to play the game. And playing the game for men and women, it's not okay for either one of you. But the ramifications for women is a whole lot more intense and sharp. It's a lie. So this is the lie that a 42-year-old woman who played the game still couldn't find somebody in the 30s, still looking for somebody in her 40s. And I'm not gonna bang on her for not having no kids, but how did she manage that? Well, we could debate that. Let's just say everything was pristine, but maybe it wasn't. Telling young ladies to ride the cock carousel in their 20s and somehow be unaffected and looking for love in their 30s is the worst advice a woman could ever give another woman. That's actually demonic because we have more than enough receipts to know that shit's not true. It's not true.
when you hit them 30s and up, it's time for you to be transparent about your sense of self, what you want in that person, and have that be the conversation you have on the first date, the first text, the first conversation. People are falling too soon for the aesthetics and the optics of a house that's an empty home. Excuse my language.
Ooh, okay.
So what you need to do is make sure that you're having conversation that looks like, this is what I like. This is what I'm looking for. Where do you stand? Are you conducive for me? Because.
All right, let me look at his face. Okay. This guy's a pandering chief. I believe that's Ace Metaphor. I'm looking at his face, but I'm reading two things, right? He's got the face on like she's cooking, but she's cooking with doo-doo, right? And not grease. And that face, you could take like, oh, lady, please stop. Or, yeah, you're really hitting it. You know, part of her shit that she's saying should be the intentional stuff you should say to somebody when they're in their 20s. When they're in their 20s. Let me tell you, there's no proof that having 100 Johnsons in your 20s is going to make you a better woman in your 30s. But there's definitely proof that the opposite is true.
The name of the game is, if we're not conducive, pivot. It doesn't have to be rude, but pivot. And if it is, lock in and take your time. Don't rush to the altar just to become a divorcee or a baby mama or baby daddy. It's not that serious.
You don't be a baby daddy when you're married or baby mama when you're married, but do it when you're single. You know what? Jesus Christ. Oh, man. All I'm just trying to say is that's the worst advice a woman could ever give somebody. And I think she thinks she's cooking, but I don't agree with it at all. But if anybody else agrees, you can come up. You don't have to come up, agrees with her. Because the advice she's given is the advice you should give a person who's in that dating age from the jump street. That's the advice you should give. And about having, exploring your most women have explored out of college. You pretty much explored all the shit that you need to explore. Even if you're not willing to get married or all that stuff, but there is nothing that's good coming from the car carousel for ladies. It's just not. It's just, and I'm a man. It's not even good for men, but we don't get hurt by it the same. I haven't seen a man in his 30s said I had too much box. I had too much box and I need therapy. It don't work that way. Men and women are not the same. You can't dissipate the energy a man puts in you. It's got to go somewhere, and it turns into mental disorder, trauma, extra babies, all kinds of bullshit. So don't listen to that lady. She's wrong. Get better advice. Get better advice. And that's just me talking. All right. Anybody, make sure you'll hit that like button if you haven't, and share the video. I'm surprised that nobody wants to come up and just refute anything I'm saying here. There's ladies in there. Put something in the chat that says, you know what, maybe she has a point. And whatever the point is, in your 20s, whoever told you to fool around in your 20s, You know, were they right? Did it benefit you in your marriage? You know, remembering about the Alpha Johnson you had in your 20s, or the several Alpha Johnsons, because your man, you married him because, you know, he's a good provider, but, you know, he doesn't measure up the way your Alpha Johnson did. You know, that kind of stuff. I mean, does that help your marriage? Dreaming of dreaming of the cucumber that you used to have. I don't believe it does. You know, it's just crazy. But what else? But she also, the same woman, and I don't know what the order is. This same woman is in another interview talking about her dating strategy, right? Well, she's talking about dating. And I'm gonna give her some smoke because I didn't like the fact that she gave some men some smoke for their own choices. So she could get some smoke back. Right? Where else did I see her? Yeah, this is it. All right.
You're so on point because my ex-fiance is 14 years older than me. So I was the opposite.
Yeah.
I used to be like, I'll never date a younger dude. Like, oh my God. Because I was so mature. My
Yeah.
career happened early. I bought my first house at 19. I mean, what am I gonna do with a young man, a young boy in my mind?
Yeah.
But as I got older, here I go talking to God. God said, okay, what if I told you your husband's younger? I was like, oh, God, come on, God. You always try to switch up the game. What? I thought we was just running an easy route. You want me to go up 5 and then 10?
Yeah,
What's
see that through an audible.
right? And so I said, okay. And he goes, okay. And you saying you want a man with no kids? I agree with you. He said, that's with them, I will. I said, okay. He said, but he's going to be younger. I said, what does that mean?
He said, how young?
He said, you don't have patience. I said, oh, damn. He said, you're a pivot quick. I said, oh my God. And I said, how young? But what he did was in the 6 years is literally, they've been all younger men. And when I tell you the adjustment, the first time I dated a younger guy, it was challenging for me because I found him less valuable in so many ways because I'm like, the wisdom's not there, the experience. And then my patience, I used to say, listen, if you want me to stay, meaning like if we're at his house having a good time, if you want me to stay, you're going to have to relax, meaning emotionally, right? Like, no, see, but I would say it as a grown woman.
You said relax.
Meaning like you're going to have to get some control over your emotions in the sense of feeling a certain way for me or not being able to engage in a conversation without being inflamed.
Okay.
Right. Because, you know, when you're young, you don't have the gauge. You're just emotional and you're reactive and you're just in love and or I'm leaving. But if you want me here, I want to be here, but we have to have a certain environment. So there goes that patience. That was 6 years ago. Now come current day, you know, even the guys I date now, I'm not exclusive. I'm still single, but.
Oh my God. She's all over the place, but she's not. The first conversation about the younger guy, it's all about her being in control, right? She wants to be in control. So yeah, you hop up this young guy. All he wants to do is just bang you out and shut you up. That's what he wants you to do. But you want him to sit down and have this grown woman conversation and all this kind of stuff. You over his house, he wants to knock it out. That's all. Right? We could talk later. You know, we could do all that shit later. If you want to be with me, you're gonna have to control yourself. So she was now. She just said that she's dating around, and it sounds like she's banging out a few dudes, right? So I mean, she's just all over the place, right? I mean, how are you giving advice or admonishing rich men on how they should manage their Johnsons when you can't even manage your bar? You know, and you think you are. At the end, why you bringing God into it? You know, what you did was have a revelation that, yeah, if you want a man, you know, the older he gets, the chances are he's going to have a kid. You know, you ain't that deep, ladies. Stop it. Let's continue. Or did it stop? Maybe I got to do this.
I had to do that. No, you're so on point because my ex-fiance is 14 years older than me.
Let me put it up there.
I was the opposite.
Yeah.
I used to be like, I'll never date a younger dude. Like, oh my God. Because I was so mature. My career happened early. I bought my first house at 19. I mean, what am I gonna do with a young man, a young boy in my mind?
Yeah.
But as I got older, here I go talking to God. God said, okay, what if I told you your husband's younger? I was like, God, come on, God. You always try to switch up the game. What? I thought we was just running an easy route. You want me to go up 5 and then 10?
He done threw an audible.
Right. And so I said, okay. And he goes, okay. And you saying you want a man with no kids. I agree with you. He said, that's within my will. I said, okay. He said, but he's going to be younger. I said, what does that mean?
He said, how young?
He said, you don't have patience. I said, oh, damn. He said, you're a pivot quick. I said, oh my God. And I said, how young? But what he did was in the 6 years is literally, they've been all younger men. And when I tell you the adjustment, the first time I dated a younger guy, it was challenging for me because I found him less valuable in so many ways because I'm like, the wisdom's not there, the experience not. And then my patience, I used to say, listen, if you want me to stay, meaning like if we're at his house having a good time, if you want me to stay, you're going to have to relax, meaning emotionally, right? Like, no, see, but I would say as a grown woman.
You said relax.
Meaning like you're going to have to get some control over your emotions in the sense of feeling a certain way for me or not being able to engage in a conversation without being inflamed.
Okay.
Right? Because, when you're young, you don't have the gauge. You're just emotional and you're reactive and you're just in love or I'm leaving. But if you want me here, I want to be here, but we have to have a certain environment. So there goes that patience. That was 6 years ago. Now come current day, even the guys I date now, I'm not exclusive. I'm still single, but one of the guys I date we talked about that happens to be younger. And I have a better understanding of the patient. So when certain things happen, I go back into my conversation with self and God and I go, oh, okay, that's the patience part. And God goes, that's it, baby. That's it. I say, oh, okay, I had to maybe act. But to his defense, he is actually, knock on wood, thus far has been very mature in a lot of ways. But I still make sure I remind myself, okay, this guy is still younger and I have to have that patience. And I say, would I rather have patience with a younger man or would I want to deal with my spirit constantly uneasy because I'm going against my values because this man is amazing, but he has kids. And so I can't fully unpack and connect with him because the barrier between us is these kids. I said, no barrier because I'll unpack fully with this man and I'll go all the way in with this man to the point where we're having kids in a family. So for me, I'm clear on what I want. And my wide road, which is destruction, says the Bible, has now become a narrow road, which is happiness. And for me, when you get narrow, even if what you're asking for hasn't manifested yet, you're still very happy because you're clear. Clarity is something that gives you peace and what I call God's peace and happiness.
Good. And what I love about it is that what you said is you live in a place of realism. You said, because I heard you say this in the interview, and because I know that my desire is a man with kids, now I have to date younger, but I have to also deal with the maturation phase of a younger man. And so that's why I like it when people are intuitive enough to say, because some people are like, I want a man that don't have kids, and it's like, okay, but you didn't adjust, you didn't know how to pivot, so you're in your mid 40s or whatever, and you're dating guys around that thing, and then now he's like, well, I want kids.
All right, so we can end that right there. So, I mean, just look at the situation, right? I think men. This is where women's, I guess, if it's intuition or whatever, it doesn't matter how educated a lady is. I think sometimes they just don't understand dating in men. If a man was 42 years old and he says he needs to date a younger woman, all the women around here will be talking about he's a predator. Except that, and because he's doing it for the express reason that he wants to get her before she's so tainted with trauma that she's no good. Right? And he has to spend all his time trying to decompress her ass to something that'll be useful for him, as opposed to getting a young woman and grooming her. That's what this guy, not Alan, Houston, whatever his name is, the singer, right? He married this young woman. He got a lot of flack. He told everybody to kiss my ass. She was 19. She was legal. And he married her. She's like 23 now. They got like 2 or 3 kids, and she's happy as hell. And he got a woman untainted. Well, she probably had sex before. She probably wasn't a virgin, but he got one lady who didn't go through her 20s, all traumatized and fucked up by the time she got to 30, 31. So he saved a life of angst and gave her a better life than she probably would have on a regular basis, even though his wife is really pretty. Yeah, Marcus Houston. Yeah, he's right. So this lady pretty much said the same thing. And I don't want anybody to tell me that a woman's not a woman until she's 30 and all this other horse shit. You know, if you're 18 and you can go to war and die and you can do all those things, when you're an adult, you're an adult. Do you make stupid decisions? Yeah. Yeah, but there's too many people in their 30s still making stupid decisions, right? So let's stop the cap. If you're legal, you're legal. You know, and a man who marries a younger woman, grooms her, that's what he's supposed to do. Every man cleaves to a woman, he grooms that woman to be the kind of woman he needs in his life, right? Some of her rubs off on him as well, but it's the man or the woman in his house has to be able to satisfy him for the obligations you put him under. You know, I mean, men have certain obligations that we don't ask of our women in return. So we should at the very least have the women that we want in our lives. It's as simple as that. If y'all don't like it, just stay single, right? And a man, if you're willing to compromise that, you're a fool, and you should stay single too. But you're going to get what you deserve if you marry a woman that's not what you actually think she is and what you actually need in your life, because you're not going to get what you need as a man from her, not at all, especially the respect. So anyway, so I have, so what I wanted to do here was kind of put why men who are successful pretty much would rather just have a legacy that's a la carte, because the entree has been made, it has been tainted by social mores. It's been tainted by the modern times, right? You could thank feminism for a lot of that. Feminism has been an enemy of society for a very long time, and the way it's manifests itself is very dangerous, and society is paying for it, right? And a lot of women don't understand that you guys are at the center of that, because your importance to men in terms of keeping a society together, because women are what we have to protect, have to love, have to provide for, and have as wives. But a lot of women are not marriageable anymore. And it's not because you want rights. It's not because you can't work and all this horse shit. The only thing you can't do when you're married to a man on his square is have sex with other men. It's the only thing you can't do. That's the only thing you can't do. And if you can't bring yourself to do that, then, stay single. But don't complain about men who won't accept the fact that you want to be free and he has to be traditional, because he can't be banging out other women. You'll be upset at that. So anyway, so that's that. So I have one more video that kind of ties this on, and it's Stephen A. Smith actually opening up a little bit about his private life. He never really does that, right? But I think what he says kind of sums up, why we're here and why a man, whether a man on his square, a man of means, whether he's married to the woman or not, if he's not married to his legacy, if he believes in his legacy, he believes in being a good father, it don't matter whether he says I do to the woman. Those kids are going to get taken care of. And all the woman has to do is just get the hell out of the way and let him do it, And I would imagine there might be a dollar figure to that. Unfortunately, the men who don't have money, women tend to use their kids as a weapon, even if he wants to be in his life. Oh, you missed a child support payment. You don't have this. No, you can't see your kids. That's the absolute worst thing you could possibly do. Well, anyway, so we're going to play Stephen A. Smith, and what he says is going to be probably a good way to segue into and it's just nobody wants to talk to me no more. I guess it's my fault. Anyway, where is my man at? All right. And if, whether you like Stephen A. Smith or not, I think he's pretty poignant here, because it's something we haven't really seen from him in his when he talks sports. Let me make sure we start from the beginning.
You know, I think the relationship with your father is the most important part of the book because it opens up so much other stuff. Like you talk about how watching your father and your mother's relationship made you never want to get married. Yeah. And you talked about things in the book I didn't know. I didn't know you had 2 baby mamas. How's Disney gonna feel about that?
Well, first of all, I don't expect them to like it, because it's the one thing that my mother was ashamed of. Of my entire life. I've been on this earth 55 years. She passed away when I was 49, going on my 50th birthday. And that was the only thing that my mother was ever ashamed of me for. Because I wore, I had condoms on lock like credit cards. It was like I didn't leave home without them. I was never going to compromise myself by putting myself in that position. And then I lost my way. And so because of that, my mother was like, okay, so now that you screwed this up, she said, there's only one way you can make up for it. You have to be the best father that you could possibly be. You have to make sure what you made a promise to me about from the time that you were 16 years old, that you will never be like your father. She said, that's what I expect. And so since that moment in time, that's why when Kobe passed away and everybody's talking about that girl dad, it's like it resonated with me in a very significant way because, my daughters are everything to me. And so, I've always lived by this philosophy, but it's the same with my mom. It was with my mom as it is with my daughters. I'm not comfortable unless they're comfortable. I don't eat unless they eat. I don't go on vacation till they go on vacation. I don't live a posh and affluent life unless they live in it. I make sure that they're taken care of first. And the thing that I shamed her with is also the things that I've made her very proud about. She was very proud of the father that I am. And I'm very proud of the father that I strive to be. It's a never ending process. I am not looking forward to growing older with 2 daughters, thinking about the man I once was before I became a daddy, praying and hoping that they don't run in to a young Stephen A. I'm definitely that dude. But I'm also very, very happy and very proud of the father I am. And having 2 beautiful daughters has made me a much better man and a much better human being and far, far, far more compassionate than I ever thought I'd be.
All right. So there you go. There you have it. I first of all, I agree with his sentiments. I'm married, but my daughters mean everything to me. They're not married yet. I still cover them. We had that conversation yesterday over dinner about those things, but you can't force it. I can't make it happen for them. They got to be open to it. I think they'll be beautiful wives, but it's up to them to do it. I just told them, listen, I want to walk one of you down or both of you down the aisle. That's just what I want to live for. And in the meantime, I'm covering you. Anyhow, so that's really what it is. Now, I don't know whether people want to agree that men should have their own autonomy in terms of how they have a legacy. I call it legacy a la carte because obviously the entree is too bitter. Not that the women are bad. It's just that they have a loaded gun. And men don't want to put their hard-earned assets at risk. You know what, ladies? I'll make a deal with you. You guys put a petition to get rid of no-fault divorce. And then I think men will start to think about marriage a little bit more. There should be a reason for a woman to leave. There should be a reason for a man to leave. One that's traceable, one that's true, and one that is actually a judge could adjudicate whether that's good enough to get a divorce on. And maybe those are the kind of things that could be hashed out even before you get married. Because unless a guy's hitting you and cheating on you, or that's, all the rest of this thing, I want to be happy some other, after, then I would grant, if I had to change the law, I would grant a divorce to a woman who just wants out, but you can't take anything. You could just come with the shit that you had on your back. And whatever money you added in, okay, you want to go. I think that's the compromise that has to be. I don't think you get the right to tell a man you don't love him no more and he didn't do anything and then you could leave with half his shit. I think that's wrong. I think that's an imbalance that needs to be fixed. It really does. Now, it's happening to women and they're screaming to the high heavens, right? Because now they're getting a taste of their own medicine because I guess rich women marry down. They're getting a taste that men marry down, quote unquote, marry down all the time. because there's not a slim pickings of rich women out there that's marriageable. So anyway, I just wanted to say that in defense of the men out there who are very successful and are very nervous and scared about marriage, they have a right to be. And if you want to have kids outside of wedlock, as long as you could take care of them, as long as you could pay for them, as long as you could do all of those things that make those kids' lives, beneficial to them and to society, then it's fine. I dare to tell anybody that Stephen A's daughters are having a hard life, right? Just because he didn't marry their mothers. I don't think Nick Cannon's kids are having a hard life because he's not married to any of their mothers. Or Cam Newton's, right? They did an expose on the one with the 4 kids. I think she wants to complain, but she really can't, right? She's being taken care of. I'm surprised that where's the smoke show? Corey, Joe Bennett, nobody has nothing to say about that. What do you think about the moral stuff? What should the men be doing otherwise? Should they just get married and take a chance? Should they? Anybody? What's this? Yeah, that's true. If you're going to get married, you need to stay married. That's the key. And so that's why it's so important to vet on both sides, because there will be challenges, but I think people live and they quit too easy. And when you have people like Dr. Bryant and whatever kind of advice she's giving people, she should just give advice, and she probably needs to sit on somebody's couch and get some better advice. And stop trying to admonish men for doing what they do, because we have reasons to do what we do, whether she likes it or not. I think men who take care of their kids are not a bane on society. Is it traditional? No, but nobody wants to be traditional today. So I just think it's just a sign of the times, which is a good or a bad thing. But as long as the kids get taken care of, I don't know where the complaints are. Well, hey, listen, I appreciate you guys coming up even for a little while. I need to find a way to get folks to come up here and give me their opinions as well. I know they did it in the chat, so I got to get more proficient at reading more of the chats. But the fact is that I think I'll take it this way. I have a feeling that many people, whether you agree with me 100% or not, kind of see where the men are coming from. I think you kind of see where the men are coming from. And it doesn't mean women are bad. It just means that, a lot of us get a chance to change our minds. And so women have the right to change their minds, but it shouldn't destroy a man in the process. You don't want to be married to a guy no more, then leave. But you don't get to break him in half because you no longer want to be with him. And the laws let you do that. I think those laws are draconian. They were made in the time when men used to leave women broke, busted, and disgusted. That's just not true no more. Most women are not housewives, not anymore. You got a job because that's what you wanted. And most families have to live on 2 salaries. So if you leave a man, you take your salary and you take half of the assets he still has. That shit doesn't make any sense to me. It's just because he made a little bit more money than you. So we need to fix the divorce. We need to fix the whole system. And I don't think it's going that way because, your girl Cam has a good chance. So she still has a chance to win the election. So as bad as it is now, I can't imagine how 4 years of her being in charge will be. This country will be unrecognizable. Especially in terms of the laws. And I think men will be fighting an uphill battle like we are right now. But I think it's a battle worth fighting. I think men finally got their feet on the ground, and I think we need to keep plowing through no matter who wins the election. Anyway, with that, folks, I appreciate everybody coming up. I am going to say good night to you guys. And I don't know. You know what? I still didn't look at the the marquee, because I don't know whether Monday Mayhem is Mayhem Monday's up or not next. Can somebody tell me, is that next? Anybody know? Is our girl Gracie coming up later on? Maybe. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, gullible ass black men. Put the Kool-Aid down. There you go. So that's next. That's the next. Yeah, I see it. I may come back for that one. So everybody stay tuned. At 9:30, Grace is going to be talking about gullible ass black men. We're going to see where she comes up with. Anyway, and with that, I say good night to everybody, and we're out of here.
It's going down like a rodeo. It's going down like I told you so. It's going down like a rodeo. It's going down like I told you so. I hope you're all here for the ride. Come inside, cause it's going down tonight. Only here for one night, no lies. Come and saddle up a ride. Need a yeehaw, you know how here for one night and we just wanna party. In a fast car, a Ferrari. It's a push start, I don't need a car key. It's out on Broadway, and it's gnarly. On a late night, but I'm not tardy. Right on time for the parties and Barbies. Strolling with a chunk of green like a golf swing. Hey, 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 hey. Bottles on ice, mess around these skates. Hey, hey, hey. If I gotta say it twice, then I got nothing to say. It's going down like a rodeo. It's going down like I told you so. It's going down like a rodeo. It's going down like I told you so. I hope you're all here for the ride. Come inside, cause it's going down tonight. Only here for one night, no lies. Come and saddle up a ride. Come and kiss me up, it's going down. Like a train with no brakes, I'm not slowing down. See us showing up, we're showing out. Better pack it in till they kick us out. I'm no nailing them, I'm a lunatic. It's no telling when I get loose a bit. Got my babe, my boo.